This is the Uptick Newswire Stock Day podcast, sponsored by InvestorsHangout.com. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube to stay up to date on penny stock news and interviews, public information on OTC, pink sheets, and microcap stocks from around the world, with your host, Everett Jolly.
On today's show, we have a returning guest. We're going to find out what's happening in the copper mining fields and the copper prices. It seems they've been going up. We're talking no other than Cordoba Mineral Corp. They trade on the OTCQX, ticker symbol CDBMF. With us today is the president and CEO, Mario Stifano. Mario, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for inviting me again. It's exciting to be back on.
Give my listeners a little bit about statement of what you guys do and where's your focus.
Well, Cordoba is, as you mentioned, a publicly traded exploration company. Our focus is copper gold. We see tremendous upside in the copper market, so we've been looking really hard to try and identify over the last 3 years copper gold prospects. We have a very large land package in Colombia. It's the northern part of Colombia, which is fantastic for infrastructure. There's operating mines all around us. You're close to the ports. This is where you want to be looking for copper gold. And we found what we think is one of the best districts in Latin America for copper gold exploration, period, full stop. And it's under the control of Cordoba Minerals.
The last time you were on my show was June the 12th, I believe. July 11th, you guys sent out a press release about $10 million in financing. Can you bring us up to speed on that?
Yeah, so strategically what we wanted to do was reconsolidate our land package. Basically, we had a joint venture partner, HPX, where they had 51% of the asset, and we had 49%. We recognized to really move this asset forward and drive long-term value for Cordoba shareholders, we felt it was best to consolidate the assets. So now Cordoba owns 100% of the project. And we do have a large shareholder in HPX, which is Robert Freeland's private company. And for those of for your listeners who don't know who Robert Freeland is, he's considered the top mining entrepreneur in the world. He's discovered everything from Oyu Tolgoi, Voisey's Bay, to the current Ivanhoe, which has world-class assets in South Africa and the DRC. He's basically discovered multiple world-class assets, and nobody else can say that. So we're very lucky to have a supporting shareholder in HPX and Robert Freeland, and what we think is one of the best exploration plays in Latin America.
What is the company focused now? You guys have 100% of the ownership of the San Matias property?
Yes, correct. So really what we want to do now is continue to advance our Alacran project. So Alacran is a copper gold discovery. It's currently at 54 million tons of copper gold mineralization, and that was our resource that we issued in January of this year. We think we've been able to greatly expand the resource because we drilled about another 45 holes since that resource came out. So from our perspective, we're starting to see Alacran potentially develop now into an economic deposit. We need to do a lot more work, don't get me wrong. By the end of the year, we'll have an updated resource, and we hope to show that it'll be a lot bigger than the 54 million tons. And then from there, we'll do some economic studies to really show the market that Alacran is an economic deposit. We're going to restart drilling at Alacran shortly, hopefully in the next few weeks or so, which will then allow us to continue seeing how we can grow the Alacran deposit. But it's a great backbone to the company. It's economic. Any mining company would die to have the Alacran deposit, but it's just the beginning for Cordoba because we've really just started exploring our district, and we have not only smoke everywhere, we got bonfires on outcroppings in other areas. So we know there's more to this district than just Alacran, but it just takes time and money, obviously. But when you're looking to invest, you want to invest in companies that have the best real estate, and it's no different in my respect to buying real estate. You could either buy real estate in Los Angeles or San Francisco or Vancouver in Canada or Toronto in Canada or here in San Diego like currently am right now, or you can choose to buy real estate in a swamp somewhere in the middle of Florida.
Right,
you always got to try and pick your best real estate. And when it comes to exploration, it's no different. You got to pick the best investments that have the best real estate, and we think we've got the best real estate.
Maybe bring us up to the speed and your thoughts of your exploration plans, and maybe what's going on with the high power exploration. I think July 31st, you were supposed to close that deal.
Yep. Let me discuss the closing of the transaction. So Basically, we consolidated the asset. High Power Exploration was our joint venture partner. The shareholders overwhelmingly approved that deal, with over 72% of the minorities approved the deal, and over 90% when you included HPX voting their shares. So we got great support on the transaction, and we raised the $10 million, closed the financing. So now we're well financed to continue exploring our San Mateus and Alacran projects. So the immediate plans is to put some new holes into Alacran. We want to expand the southern discovery that we had at Alacran, because we believe Alacran continues to the south. We think there's potential for some offsets to the north, which we've got to put some holes there. The drill hole will tell us whether that's the case or not. And we still haven't really drilled any deep holes. I don't know, how deep Alacran will go, but there is potential for depth extension to Alacran. Maybe we have some sills. I don't know. I'll leave it up to the smart geologists that we have on site to figure this out. But we believe that Alacran has real potential to get bigger. And as I said, Alacran is just the beginning. There's lots of bonfires all around this area that tells us and leads us to believe that we're going to have some additional discoveries in time.
My guest today is Mario Stifano. He is the president and CEO of Cordoba Minerals Corp, where they trade on the OTCQX, ticker symbol CDBMF. I wanted to ask you about the revenues. What is the potential for the Alacran deposit, and when do you think that some financials might fall on the balance sheet, our revenues?
Well, yeah, great question. So we're not there yet on the economic study on Alacran, but I like to sometimes compare, our project relative to others. And
absolutely.
If we can show Alacran is a 100 million ton deposit, and if it's the exact same grade as the prior resource, where we had 0.7% copper and 0.37 grams gold, for a lot of listeners, sometimes it's easier to think about it in gold equivalent ounces, which is the potential revenue out of the deposit, or an in situ value of the mineralization. Basically, you would have, at 100 million tons, you would have about 4.8 million ounces of gold in the ground at a very, very low strip ratio. And that's a pretty sizable, pretty phenomenal deposit to have discovered. And a good example of something similar, this is pure gold, but I know there's a company called Libyan. The only reason I came across it because I was at the Sprott conference in Vancouver and walked around the booths. And so Libyan International is in Armenia, and they've got 3.5 million ounces of resources. Their grade is 0.75 grams gold. Ours would be, say, 1.3 to 1.4 grams gold equivalent. Their CapEx is around 380 million. Ours might be something similar. And their MPV for their project is over 500 million. And the company's trading at a $250 million market cap, which is twice our market cap. Plus they got, $200 million in debt. So when you factor all that in, they're trading at effectively 500 million to our 130 million. So I think we're dirt cheap relative to our peers. And once all this economic study gets out there and the updated resource gets out there, you'll really see, I think, real potential for Alacran share price to really accelerate from here, because there are not many deposits of this size and this kind of grade out there in the world. And we got our job cut out for us to continue drilling it and getting the economics and all this information on the marketplace. But once it's there, I think shareholders will be greatly rewarded if they come in. So
we've already done an essay and a 43101. Are we going to farm this out, or are we going to do it ourselves when the time comes?
So we're mine builders. I mean, I've got great experience in taking exploration assets into production and commercial production. So I like to build a mine, to be blunt. I don't see why I need to sell something, especially when you got something good. To create a real long-term sizable company, it's because we got one of the best land packages. We could be working in this district for 20 years and continue to find multiple deposits. So, the right strategy will come and continue to formulate over the next few years. But when we're ready to develop Alacran, we have great connections within our group into China and or even Japan. And, a few phone calls if you want to raise $100, $200 million to help advance the project and, move your material to China to go through the smelters or the refineries. Yeah, that's sometimes a great strategy. So we think we got a valuable asset here, and we're going to continue to ensure that our shareholders recognize and reap the rewards of our valuable asset at San Mateus.
Cordoba Minerals Corp is the company that we're highlighting today. Around July the 11th, they've got over $10 million in financing. They are on fire at the Alacran deposit in Colombia. Talking with us today is the president and CEO, Mario Stifano. He says that his company is completely undervalued compared to his peers. In closing, Mario, is there anything that we didn't get a chance to touch upon that you would like to get out to the listeners?
No, I think we touched upon the pertinent points. The only thing I'd like to remind people when you're looking to invest in our space, there's a lot of companies out there, but there's not many companies out there that have copper. And copper, if you're paying attention to the news, the last few days actually officially hit a bull market. And it's been 4 years since copper has been in the bull market. And the reason for that is the market has seen a tremendous shortfall in supply of copper in the year 2020, 2021. So the smart money is starting to move into copper plays now and positioning themselves for what they see as a significant rise in potential copper prices and also the equities that explore for and produce copper. So we see tremendous upside in the copper story. And when you look out into what else is available, I think Cordoba should fit everyone's boxes because this is a long-term play, great asset, great potential, and there's not a lot of exposure in the junior mining space with copper. And I think we're it. I think this is where a lot of people should be focusing their time and effort in terms of researching whether they want to invest in our space. Cordoba should be at the top of people's list.
I know that myself and my listeners will be waiting for our next interview. Hopefully you'll come back on the show in 50 or 60 days, give us another update on Cordoba Mineral Corp. They trade on the OTCQX, ticker symbol CDBMF. Mario, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I wish you nothing but continued success, and I'll wait for your next interview.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and I look forward to our next update.
This program is entirely sponsored and produced by Uptick Newswire, LLC, which is responsible for the content. The opinions and information provided on this program are those of the guests and those of the respective companies they represent, and do not necessarily reflect those of the staff or management of Uptick Newswire. Uptick Newswire encourages all listeners of this program to do their due diligence and research when determining investment strategies that will work for them, or to seek the assistance of an investment professional. The guests of this program may have paid for its distribution and are not directly affiliated with Uptick Newswire or this station.